Hello again and welcome to Brewings TV. I'm Tom Terwilliger. Our lead story comes to us from Winnebago, Minnesota, where Dr. Hamm's, aka the Hamm's Bear or Stephen Miner if you prefer, reported recently that his Hamm's repair van with its iconic Hamm's Bear on the side was stolen right out of his driveway. Well, the police apparently found the vehicle 12 or so hours later. It was lodged between a tree and a fence, and apparently some young punks took it for a joyride or something like that. So the vehicle was returned. Not sure if it's in very good shape anymore. It was kind of on its last legs anyway. But I'm happy to report that no beer signs were taken or injured in this incident in Winnebago, Minnesota. Now, we've heard some rumors in the Brew-mor Mill, and for this we turn to Johnny Hughes out of the Twin Cities. These rumors were coming to us from the Twin Cities, and one of them is that Grain Belt is going to release a new beer. And so we asked Johnny Hughes, a certified beer maniac and Shell's Border Batch member, what he knew about this. Now, he tells us he thinks that there is definitely a Grain Belt beer coming out, and he believes it to be something called Grain Belt Blue, which I believe is because they served a blueberry version of Grain Belt at the State Fair in Minnesota the last 2 or 3 years, and I think it went over really well, and Johnny thinks it's probably going to be that. No guarantee that that's it, but that would be an interesting pick. But anyway, this rumor, we've heard it from the Twin Cities. That's the indication we're getting right now, but we'll see if that's accurate or not. Anyway, a new beer from Grain Belt is exciting. It means a new bottle, new label, and maybe a new can. Who knows? We'll see. On to other things. The Brew-mor Mill has some rumors going around. You know, there's been some buyouts by AB InBev, and recently Breckenridge was purchased out of the state of Colorado by the brewing giant. And so there's a rumor going around that possibly some big brewer in Minnesota could be the next victim, if you will. And, you know, a lot of people in the craft beer community don't like the fact that AB InBev is buying up their favorite brewery. They've bought a number of them now, and some other ones have been sold out too, although not to the same big player as AB InBev. It's one of those questions, you know, you got a great thing going, but like Ballast Point, somebody offers you $1 billion. Do you take it and run, or do you just hang on and keep brewing? Well, that's a call that each brewery owner is going to have to make. Well, we asked Johnny Hughes again. He's our certified beer maniac in the Twin Cities, and he gets wind of a lot of rumors, so we again called on him for this answer. And he proposed 5, actually 6 breweries that he thought could be on the list, and then sort of crossed them off as he went along. First up, he says August Shell. But he doesn't think August Shell is probably a candidate. They've spent a lot of money to upgrade, and they also have a strong family tie with the 3 Marty boys coming up into the brewing business, Jace, Kyle, and Franz. And they're very devoted, and this is my opinion also, they're very devoted to maintaining that August Shell legacy, and they're very devoted to being a good employer and brewer and everything in the city of New Ulm and in the state of Minnesota. He doesn't think it's August Shell, neither do I. Next, Surly Brewing Company. Obviously that would be a good target for a big brewer to acquire. They have a regional footprint with their beers. They're fairly big. They have a modern facility. They have a good reputation. They've also hired, according to Johnny, a QC and branding expert who has a lot of experience and is going to help them. And you know, although they could be one of the targets of a buyout, he doesn't seem to think they are. Liftbridge out of Stillwater. They're only a 30,000 barrel a year brewery. He doesn't really think they're probably on the list either. They could be, but probably not. And then Fulton in the cities there is a 65,000 barrel brewery. Fulton, of course, they do a nice job with their beers, but you know, they haven't been around that long. They don't have the big regional footprint. However, he goes on to say that he thinks quite possibly it could be Cold Spring and 3rd Street Brewery. They've had some ownership changes and certain issues. They do have a lot of beers they do contract brews for, I believe, and they have their line of craft beers, and they could possibly be the target that Anheuser-Busch or AB InBev is looking at. It'll be interesting to see. That's Johnny's summary, and personally my take, I would have to say either Cold Spring or Summit. I really would hope none of them, but you know, if things happen, I would say those are my two picks. But we'll have to keep an eye on this. We don't know anything for certain at this point. It's just a rumor in the Brew-mor Mill, but we'll see as the craft beer buyout continues from brewery giant AB InBev. And we'll just keep our fingers crossed it's not one of our favorites. Well, next we're going to take you to Cedar Rapids, Iowa, where I was recently at for a class and did a little brewery tour there. So we're going to check into Cedar Rapids and we'll check out bars, breweries, and brewpubs in the Hawkeye State at Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Recently we went to Cedar Rapids, and of course while in town it's a man's mission to find all the local breweries. Turner Alley was first. We'd heard they had great beers, but unfortunately no tap room. So we just paid him a quick visit from the outside. The Quarter Barrel Arcade and Brewery was on our list, but it was not yet in business, so we were off to find Lion Bridge in the Czech Village, and right across from the Red Baron, there it was. It's a beautiful place, nice interior. It's a kind of a place with friendly people. They have really, really good beers, and like I said, they've won some medals at Great American Beer Festival. Highly recommend going there. About 4 blocks away, we found Parlor City, a beer bar closer to the downtown area, and we got a hold of some of that Turner Alley Pilsner and tried it out. It was mighty fine. After that, we sat there and sampled a few other tasty treats. The place has a lot of cool things to look at, and their food menu looked really good too. But we took a little break and then went in search of another road brewing company. I thought maybe this would just be another one of those breweries with no tap room, but when I got there, I was delighted to find in the basement of this 2-story office building in somewhat of a residential neighborhood a really funky little bar. Now let me tell you, these guys at the brewery, which is right there by the bar, are very cool people. Thursday nights they do bottle share night. They invited me to partake with them even though I didn't have anything and I was a stranger. Made me feel right at home. What a great place it is. Well, anyway, they had something sitting on top of the tap head there called a crowler. I'd never seen one before, but it's a quart beer can, and what they do is they go ahead and they get it labeled up with whatever beer you're going to have, and then they take these things right over to the tap and they start to fill them up with your selection. So you're going to get a can of beer with some of the very freshest beer you can get poured right into it directly out of the tap, and then they'll take it over to this beauty right here, which is a 1-can canning machine. They'll get her all wiped down. They pick out a lid for your can. They bring it over and they slide her right on in there. Got to lock it down a little bit to make sure it doesn't go anywhere. Hit the switch after a quick wipe and she'll start to put that lid on. And he'll give her a little bump here. And one more time he's got to reset it. And there you go. Watch that. It spins it right on. And you've got a can of beer. It's a quart. And it's ready to go. And they tell me they'll keep about 8 weeks. And I'm guessing they probably keep longer than that even as they're canned up. And we've all kept canned beer for quite some time. But these machines, I understand, are about $5,000, and they do one at a time, so it's a far different cry from the thousands you see go through a canning machine at Miller or Budweiser or someplace like that. Well, let me tell you, if you're ever in Cedar Rapids, another road brewing company, and the others are good places to stop, and this was one of my favorites. I highly recommend it. Well, that's our visit to Cedar Rapids. We hope you enjoyed it, and right here we do have the crowler from another road brewing company, which is one of the can actually that was featured in that little video production there about Cedar Rapids. So we're going to open that up next time on Brewings TV and tell you how it's survived. It's probably been about 8-9 weeks since I was there, and we'll see what kind of shape this baby's in and examine the can and some other stuff too. Well, it's time for a little sip of Shell's Pilsner. This is the best broadcasting job in the industry because you get to drink Shell's beer while you're doing your job. And of course we love it. Well, if you have any kind of brewery news, Breweriana news, or anything else related to beer can or Breweriana collecting or the beer hobby in general, feel free to send it to me, shellsguy@outlook.com. And if it's something we can use, we certainly will. You can send it as a pre-produced video, pictures, just a handwritten note or a typed note, email, whatever. But shellsguy@outlook.com, and we'll see if it's something we can use. Coming up next time on Brewings TV, we're going to go to the land of sky blue waters, check in with Stephen Miner as he picked up what is probably a one-of-a-kind prototype Hamm sign with the Indian Maiden standing on it, sort of a scenorama-like sign that ripples, and we'll have more information on that as we venture off to the land of sky blue waters and check in at the Bear's Den. Until next time, Prost! This has been Brewings TV.